That independent being was never created, and it was independent, and it was able to give birth of this universe with its free will, without any dependency. That what we call a creator. What we are doing, Claire, we are doing a deductive reasoning. Because you exist, I exist, there is no doubt about it. Am I right? This universe exists, there is no doubt about it, right? Yeah. So imagine if I say, Claire, you look like a very nice person. I would like to buy.
You still think that?
No, I do. But I say, I'm gonna buy you a cup of coffee. But there is only one problem. You say, Riaz, my name is Riaz. You say, Riaz, what's the problem? I say, I have to ask my wife to get a permission so that I can buy you a cup of coffee. And I say, okay, no problem, ask your wife, that's fine. I asked my wife, can I buy a cup of coffee for Claire? My wife says, Riaz, hold on, I have to ask my dad. I say, okay, go and ask your dad. And her dad says, I have to ask my wife. If that continues for like unlimited number of time, will I ever be able to buy a cup of coffee? No? Yes, you're right. So if there is infinite number of regression before me to give permission to allow me to buy a cup of coffee, I'll never be able to buy a cup of coffee, right? But the moment I see you have a cup of coffee in your hand, that will prove it's not unlimited number of people behind me. There was someone in my back has the independence to make decision on his or her own to allow me to buy you a cup of coffee. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, or I've just gotten tired and got my own coffee.
No. Imagine I'm giving you the coffee just for the analogy. So that shows there's one person who was independent, did not need to ask anyone. Just say, buy a cup of coffee for Claire. What's the big deal? Only £3 it cost. Right? McDonald's is even cheaper, £1.70. Am I right?
Yeah.
If you look at the now universe, Claire, I think you probably agree with me, everything in the universe is dependent. I'll give you one example. The earth depended on the sun, because they said the sun is the parent body of the earth. The moon is dependent on the earth, because they say the earth is the parent body of the moon. The solar system is dependent on the Milky Way galaxy, because it was a part of the Milky Way galaxy. The Milky Way galaxy with the other galaxies is dependent on the Big Bang. Everything in the universe is dependent on something. You agree with that?
Yeah.
So it is impossible to have this universe where everything is dependent on everything. Like a chicken and egg. Which one comes? Chicken or egg? It's a loop. So you have to have some outside of chicken and egg to give birth of chicken or egg to start with, right?
Yeah.
So in the same way, in this universe, everything is dependent is impossible. But because you and I see the universe exist, you exist, I exist, that shows something before the universe was independent.
Yeah, but I think there's a limit to our own understanding of the universe and dependence.
Of course there is a limit. I 100%.
I
100% agree. But I think you probably, if you use the deductive reasoning, whereas deductive reasoning, you will say everything is dependent. It is impossible to have that universe with everything is dependent. So there must be an independent outside of this dependent thing to keep. But that's what our logical reasoning say. Would you agree?
Yeah. I think.
You agree. That's fantastic. So that's fantastic, Leah. So that means you agree there was an independent outside the dependent universe.
I'm not saying that. I just don't.
That makes sense. I'm saying. It makes sense.
In our human understanding,
yes.
Logic, but I don't think you can apply our human logic and understanding to everything in the universe.
But unfortunately, we are only human. We can only use human logic. We can't use like any other logic. That's our limitation. So we are using our faculty, whatever we have got at the moment. We cannot exercise the logic of something else which we don't have any control over it. So we are focusing on what we have control over it. We have control over logic and our reasoning, and because we use science. So all I'm doing is using our logical faculty to decipher that. So to see everything is in the universe is dependent, so that must be something independent to start with. That independent being was never created, and it was independent, and it was able to give birth of this universe with its free will, without any dependency. That what we call a creator.